right now on Upfront.
Battleground, Wisconsin.
The only tickets that are in the future are with DeSantis at the top.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis in Milwaukee, a private fundraiser. The stakes intensifying just weeks ahead of the Iowa caucuses. Will Wisconsin matter? Can anyone take down Trump? And could a third-party ticket upend it all?
I've never considered myself a Washington Democrat. I've been a very independent person.
Our guest this Sunday, DeSantis supporter Wisconsin Republican Matt Newman and Ryan Clancy with no labels.
48 hours away. Oral argument scheduled in Wisconsin's high-profile MAPS case. Democrats hoping the new liberal majority on the state Supreme Court delivers new voting maps.
I think it's very likely that we'll have 33 senators up for election.
Republicans fighting back. We're looking ahead to Tuesday's arguments with attorneys Jeff Mandel and Luke Byrd.
And tired of winning.
Is that there has been very little attention paid to what the guy is actually talking about now.
The new book from ABC News Chief Washington correspondent Jonathan Karl on former President Donald Trump. The new Wisconsin revelations just moments away.
This is Upfront with Jaron Jordan and political director Matt Smith.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. The race for president now officially less than a year away.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis back in Iowa today after attending a private fundraiser Thursday night in Milwaukee. In Wisconsin, DeSantis is trailing former President Donald Trump by 20 points among Republican voters. That's according to the latest Marquette Law School poll. And just this weekend, growing questions about whether the group No Labels will really launch a third-party ticket as organizers prepare to seek ballot access in Wisconsin.
We're going to get to it all. First, Matt Newman is a DeSantis supporter, the son of former Congressman Mark Newman, if you recognize the name. He attended and helped host one of the fundraisers last night for Governor DeSantis. Matt, good to see you. Welcome to the show.
Good morning. Thank you for the invite.
Let's first bring me inside Thursday night, this fundraiser for Governor DeSantis in Milwaukee. Who was there? What did Governor DeSantis say? What was the mood like?
Well, it was exciting. There were a really good turnout. Governor DeSantis is always fun to see, especially in a small setting where he can be truly open and transparent. You can ask him any question. He's so incredibly intelligent and focused and direct. You ask him a question, he answers your question. He doesn't dance around it. He's got good ideas. He's executed many of those ideas in Florida, and that's frankly why we're supporting him. We think he'd be great at doing that on a national level.
Are there high-profile Republicans who were there and who are backing him?
Yes.
Want to name any names?
I'm not here to drop names, but yes, there were a number of people that I've seen at other fundraisers from, other campaigns around the state in prior cycles. It's exciting. The momentum is building, and we're just excited to see where the campaign goes.
We know that the campaign is really focusing on Iowa and New Hampshire, those caucuses the first of the year. What's the importance for the DeSantis campaign on Wisconsin and fundraising here in Wisconsin?
Well, I think it's Midwest. Iowa and Wisconsin have a lot of correlation in a lot of ways. He was in the area anyway. He had other things going on in the Chicago area. So I think just the feel that he has in the Midwest, it's important for Iowa to make sure he has a presence throughout this area. So I think that's part of the reason he's here.
You're putting time and resources into his campaign here in Wisconsin. I'm curious among Wisconsin Republicans when you're talking, I mean, you see the polls, right? Obviously, you know what's going on. Down 20 in Wisconsin, down in Nevada, or down in New Hampshire, Iowa. Among Wisconsin DeSantis supporters, is there a line in the sand in terms of you need to do this before our support starts to go elsewhere?
I don't think so. I think a lot of people are still patient. People are following politics closely.
Yeah.
Pay attention to polls at this time. The majority of voters, they kind of know what's going on, but it's at a very high level. My own personal belief on this is just not just what he's accomplished in Florida, but he has no other distractions. He is totally focused on what needs to get done in this country, and he is going to do it.
Why do you think, as we talk about polling and where we are less than a year out from this election, why do you think that voters, they say that they don't want Trump or Biden, yet Trump has this massive lead right now in the primary?
It makes no sense, does it? You're asking me, I don't know. It really doesn't make any sense to me. It's not just Trump, it's also Biden. Why is it that the Democrats are supporting the sitting president, even though the majority of them don't really want him to run again? So it's interesting. It's actually the same on both parties right now, and it's creating a lot of confusion inside a primary that doesn't exist on the Democrat side, at least doesn't exist yet, and inside of a primary on the right that we're talking about here. It really doesn't make a lot of sense. It's confusing for me, too, because why is it that the majority of people don't support either of the leading candidates in the polls, and yet they're leading in the polls?
If Trump is the nominee coming out of Milwaukee, can he win Wisconsin?
That's a great question.
Do you think he can?
I hope he can.
Yeah.
I
Would
hope
you-
he
would
can.
you vote for
My
Trump?
concern, frankly, in the primary is I want to support someone that I believe is the most electable in the general election, which is why we chose to support Governor DeSantis early on. I am concerned if you're a sitting president and you don't win your reelect, what are the chances you can turn around and win as a challenger? And so that's my concern with President Trump. It's not so much his policies. It's if you didn't win when you were president, can you win this time? And I think that's a huge question mark that a lot of primary voters are wrestling with right now. It's not about the primary. Winning the primary is not the end game here. Winning the general is.
Would you and the other DeSantis supporters in that room Thursday night vote for Trump if
Yes.
he's the nominee?
Yes.
Hands down.
Yes.
Matt Newman, Republican, backer of Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. Matt, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you for your time.
Senator Joe Manchin's recent announcement that he won't seek re-election is increasing the speculation that the group No Labels is preparing to launch a third-party presidential ticket with big implications in key battleground states like Wisconsin. Just this past week, a bipartisan group of former congressmen, including Republican Reed Ribble and Democrat Ron Kine from Wisconsin, warned against a third-party ticket. Kine telling the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, quote, "I'm having a hard time seeing what they're really trying to pull off here. They can't believe there's any chance for a third party to actually win the presidency."
Ryan Clancy is No Labels chief strategist. He joins us now. Hey, Ryan, good to see you. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
Let's start right there. This from the former Wisconsin congressman. No chance to win the presidency. This will just boost Trump, they say. Your response to these former congressmen?
I mean, I can't believe he can say there's no chance when our position is, how can you not see there's such an opening? Every single poll you look at is 2/3 of the public or more saying they don't want this election. This is Caddyshack 2. This is the sequel no one wants to see. And for some reason, both parties seem intent on forcing it on American voters. And unsurprisingly, they're looking for alternatives.
You've said that No Labels has a strategy on getting on the ballot here in Wisconsin. What is that strategy?
It's ballot access, getting signatures. We'll be doing that soon in Wisconsin. We're already on the ballot in 12 states, and we'll ultimately be getting ballot access in about 34 states. By next spring. If we offer our ballot line to a ticket, that ticket would get the ballot access in the last 16 states.
Is April your decision point in terms of your convention on when No Labels will decide?
Sometime after March 15th, we'll decide whether to put up a ticket and then who would be on it.
Is Joe Manchin your guy if it is the ticket?
No, nobody has an inside track on the nomination right now. So we'll be putting out the details on how we'll be choosing sometime in the coming weeks.
Is the only scenario where you launch a ticket is if it's a Trump-Biden rematch?
The scenario is if we see a path to victory. And when we look at the numbers today, Trump-Biden, there looks like there's a path there. If the parties make some different choices and that closes off the opening for an independent ticket, we won't force it and we won't put one up.
Why do you think that even the discussion from you of launching a third-party ticket has become so controversial among some, both Republicans and Democrats?
Unfortunately, it's because I think on some level, both parties don't have anything left but fear to sell. So when you are selling people something you know they clearly don't want, which is what both parties are doing, then what you basically do is you're saying, we don't even really care in the end if we give you good candidates. We just hope you hate and fear the other side enough to come home to us in the end. And we think voters want something better than that.
We're going to keep watching. Ryan Clancy, chief strategist of No Labels. Ryan, thanks so much.
Thank you for having me.
Up next, 48 hours to go. Oral arguments in the high-profile case asking the state Supreme Court to overturn the state's legislative maps. The preview and implications next.